get to our season preview of the Rangers. Let's take a look a little bit about their additions and their losses on the season, right? We talked a lot about that with Skip Schumacher and what they've gained as opposed to what they kind of did away with. Guys, when you look at what they have gotten, right, with Mackenzie Gore and Brandon Nimmo and Jordan Montgomery, and what they've lost, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the Mackenzie Gore acquisition is huge. I mean, he, in my opinion, while he isn't quite as polished as Skubal, I think he has the second best stuff of any left-hander in the league, at least that I've faced. I think it's Skubal 1 and him 2. Obviously, Skubal has figured out how to put it all together for an entire season, and he's just taken off, and he's light years away from anybody besides maybe a Paul Skeens. But Mackenzie has that raw ability in the tank. His stuff is unbelievable, and to put that into a rotation with deGrom and Eovaldi, I mean, that's huge, and so hopefully he can find it in Texas, and that's about as good a 1-2-3 as you can find.
Yeah, but the bullpen obviously is a little bit of worrisome. Just because you got to figure it out. Skip's going to have to figure that kind of out. I know they brought in some new guys here to try to help that out, but it's kind of been their Achilles heel. And then can they hit enough? I mean, I know they traded Semien for Nimmo. They need Langford to finally take that next step a couple years in. Seager needs to stay healthy. Can Higashioka and Casey Jansen, or Danny Jansen, fill the catching role void left by Jonah Heim, who wasn't great the last couple of years. Adolis Garcia isn't here anymore. So do they have enough offense? That's kind of been the thing with the Rangers. Last year, if you look, they actually pitched really well. They just couldn't score any runs. So can they figure out the offense? Can Skip Schumacher, Alex Cintron, some of their new hitting guys figure out this offense and help them score enough runs? Because in Globe Life is a pitching park, but you also have to be able to score more than the other team. And if you don't do that, it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. AJ, you mentioned the offense. We talked a lot about the offense with Skip Schumacher earlier. But when you look at that projected starting lineup, we talked about Brandon Nimmo stepping into that leadoff role. And you look at these guys and you think, okay, there's a lot of talent there. But that was their weakest link last year was their offense. What do you think of this starting lineup?
Well, it's just go ahead, AJ.
Oh, sorry. I think it has potential, but you need Jock Peterson. He had a terrible year last year, right? Got off to a terrible start. Nimmo at the top is nice. Wyatt Langford, again, needs to take the next step. Corey Seager needs to be healthy. Josh Jung needs to be healthy, right? There's some question marks here. Josh Smith has been an all-star. Can he do it on an everyday basis, only playing second base like Skip Schumacher talked about? I think this offense has potential. But again, they got to prove it, and they got to figure out how to hit the four-seam fastball. That has been a thing for 2 years with this Texas Ranger team. Why can't they hit the four-seam fastball? That's the one pitch everybody is supposed to be able to hit.
I will say, who can hit the four-seam fastball is the guy they got behind the plate, the four-eyed grindy Danny Jansen that they got back there. That boy can hit a fastball. So hopefully that'll rub off on the rest of the lineup. But you're right. It's a lineup full of what ifs. A lot of good players, but can they stay healthy? Can they repeat what they've done in the past? Can Josh Smith continue to be a good player? And can Young come back and be this first round, third base savior that they're hoping for? He's shown flashes of it, but he's still fairly early in his career, but he's had some injury. But can he do that? Can he make that jump to become a superstar like they're hoping he can? Can Seager stay on the field? When Seager's on the field, he's the best left-handed hitter maybe in the game when he's hot. I mean, you got Ohtani and Bryce and some of these guys, but when Corey Seager is hot, you saw it in the postseason a couple years ago. There's nobody that you want to face less than Corey Seager when he's hot. So can he stay on the field? Can he do that? Can Nimmo be a good spark plug at the top of the lineup for this team? Can Jock Peterson do something? He was just awful to start the year, and that's hard to come back from. It's hard to dig yourself out of that hole when you get off to a start like that. So there's just a lot of what ifs on this team. And if those what ifs turn to a positive, They could be a really good team because, like you said, their pitching is pretty nails. Their bullpen is to be determined, but can they score some runs and give these big time starters a little bit of cushion? Because if they can, I mean, watch out.
Also, Whit, I mean, they're in a tough division. The Mariners are really good, right? The Astros are supposed to be good again. Sacramento A's are on the up, right? And then the Rangers, depending on where you want to put them, then the Angels, we all know that. And the fans don't care if they win or not. They just want affordability. They just want to go to a cheap game and have cheap parking. So, I mean, they don't really care, apparently. That's not what the fans said on Twitter yesterday. Well, that's a whole different. We don't have time to even get into that. But they're in a tough division, so they're behind it. They won the World Series 2 years ago and have had a major drop off since then. So can Chris Young, can Skip Schumacher find the right mix to make this team a contender in a tough American League West?
Well, but you kind of touched a little bit on the starting rotation and the bullpen. We know that rotation is, as you said, nails. And you look at it, you look at Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, Mackenzie Gore, Jack Leiter, Jacob Latz, and then also you got a guy like Rocker in there trying to take a significant step forward and trying to compete for a role. When you look at that starting rotation, Whit, I'll start with you. I mean, you kind of alluded to it, but what do you see?
I see a potential to be one of the best rotations out there. The top three, especially, and then you got guys like you got young guys that are trying to prove themselves and become a guy in the league. Especially guys that you brought in that were supposed to be they were supposed to be the guys. I mean, I remember Kumar Rocker being talked about like a Steven Strasburg coming out of college. I mean, he was at Vanderbilt. He struck out everybody, and it was dominant, pure dominance. And so now he gets a little bit of adversity. He's probably never had much adversity in his pitching life. I don't know a ton about his come up, but watching him at Vanderbilt, I don't imagine that guy really ever got hit. And now he gets to the big leagues and he probably had an ERA. He had an ERA with a 5 that started with a 5 for maybe the first time in his life. So how can he manage that? How can he make adjustments? Because being a good big leaguer is all about making adjustments. The game, it's going to find a way to expose you. And can you adjust to find success when that happens? That'll be him and Leiter's biggest hurdle. And then you got a guy like Jordan Montgomery, who we talked to Skip about. I mean, Jordan was a guy. I mean, he was a guy when he was in Texas and had his issues in Arizona with injuries and what all went down there. But now he's back at a familiar place where he's had success. He has that comfortability of, I pitched well here. These people know me. I know Dallas. There's something to say about that. When you go to a stadium that you're familiar with and that you have had success there and you feel that. So can he channel that? And when he gets back and healthy, can he step in and be the old Monty? And if so, I mean, look, there's a lot to be admired about this rotation, but it's all about what happens come game one, and can you sustain it to game 162?
Hey Jay, what do you think?
I mean, I think this rotation has a chance to be special if Monty comes back and's healthy, and if the top 4 are special, they have depth, and Rocker, Latz, Leiter, and then the top 3 are as good as anybody. So I think they have a chance to be special. But like always, in every team, it comes down to how healthy can you be. Can deGrom stay healthy? Can Eovaldi stay healthy? Can Gore continue to grow on what he's done? Can Leiter be healthy? There's a lot of ifs everywhere on this team. There's a lot of ifs. If they all go positive, it could be a great year, and if they all are ifs, it could be not a great year.
Okay, well, we also want to talk a little bit about the projected bullpen. Last year, their bullpen was quite good, 3.62 ERA. They were 5th. That's 5th in the majors. They rebuilt the pen a bit for 2026. They're looking for a closer to emerge among that group. But Whit, when you look at this projected bullpen for the Rangers, what comes to mind?
It's we'll see. It's a lot of we'll see. And that's the thing about the bullpen is you got to step in. I mean, you look at a guy like my boy Brad Keller last year with the Cubs. Big we'll see. Steps in and is one of the best relievers in the game. So with the bullpens, like you only got one inning to come in and do your job. And so you do that job, and then you do it for a couple more times, and that confidence grows. And now you're like, okay, I can do this. And then out of nowhere, all of a sudden you got a Wade Davis with Kansas City in 2013, 2014 that was a very average starting pitcher, and now he's one of the best relievers of all time and just comes out of nowhere. So you're kind of hoping with a little bit of that with this Texas bullpen, because there's not a ton of guys that have a lot of, I guess you would say, a lot of intimidation behind their names when they go out to the bullpen to get warmed up. And so, yeah, it's a lot of we'll see with this group, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. What's that about, AJ?
What is that, AJ?
Sweet Home Alabama. So actually, no, it's all summer long. Sorry,
I can't hear that.
You can't. I can hear it. You guys can't, but I can.
Well, you just look like you're just going like this in silence. We were like, what is he doing? Okay. I'm not even going to ask you to comment on the bullpen, AJ, because you're in your own world.
I said it. They got a lot of ifs. It's all about ifs on this team. Ifs. If this guy has a career, if this guy has a career, if this guy has a career, there's just a lot of ifs.
Okay. This question you cannot avoid, AJ. I'll start with you since Whit just carried you for that part of the segment. When you look at the Rangers,
that's why we had him come on.
Exactly. When you look at the Rangers, take a look at their win total projections for 2026 from FanGraphs. But guys, I want to know, are they a playoff team? Is this team a playoff team? Can their offense take a step forward this year? Their rotation is obviously elite. Can their bullpen be as good as they were last year, even though they're going through a little bit of a rebuild with that? What do you think?
I think they're closer to the 83.5 wins than they are the 80 or 81. I think are they a playoff team? The Mariners are really good. We were there yesterday. I picked them to win the AL this year. So I think the Mariners are definitely a playoff team. And then you got Blue Jays, Yankees, Orioles, Red Sox. It's probably two of those three, if not three of those four are in the playoffs. So there's 4, 5, and then you throw in an AL Central team, which would probably be the Tigers. So are they a playoff team? They need all those ifs to check the box to be a playoff team. But do they have a chance? Yes. But I also feel like they need a lot to go right. So I think they're going to come up just short, kind of like they did the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't foresee them. I think there's too many teams that are going to enter the wild card ahead of them, and I don't foresee them taking over Seattle. Although I will say that I think they're closer to Seattle than some people might realize. I mean, Seattle's going to pitch. I mean, they got some arms, but I mean, they lost 2 of their best bats last year, and I know they got Donovan to come in and fill that Polanco void, and I think he's a really good player. But you know, you lose out on Polanco and Eugenio. And those are 2 big shoes to fill, especially what they did in the playoffs last year. So I think that gap's a little closer than you think. And if, like we've been saying, if a lot of this stuff goes right, I think they're closer to Seattle than I think Seattle would like to admit. But standing here today, I think Texas is just out of the playoffs. I'd agree with you there, AJ.